Welcome to Bunnyfish Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as Bunnyfish on Revelry, Instagram, and YouTube. Today is Tuesday, the 13th of October, 2015. This is episode 150, Socktober. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. Once again, for the third week in a row, been delayed. Yesterday was the last day of a 4-day weekend off of school, and my littles were gone all weekend with their Grammy. They went to Tennessee to visit Steve's sisters. One lives there and one lives in Georgia, but the one from Georgia came up and her kids were with their other grandparents for the weekend, but everybody ended up meeting up for dinner, and Gabriel was super excited to see his cousins, so that was really awesome. Mara's, she's not antisocial, but she's kind of antisocial. I don't know. She's definitely an introvert, and she likes seeing people, but she very much likes having her own time. So it's not like she's like, oh my gosh, my cousins, yay. She was like, oh yeah, cousins, that's cool. Okay, I'm gonna go over here and color now. I can't blame her. I mean, I'm kind of the same way sometimes. So anyway, yeah, my kids were gone all weekend, and I should have cleaned my house. I did clean my house a little, but I could have finished a painting project that's been ongoing forever. But instead I slept a lot because I'm kind of sick, and we handed the kids off on Saturday, and then Steve grounded me to my bed because clearly I sound awesome, and apparently I have horrible sick snores, and he was like, I think you need to go to bed and nap. Well, I didn't nap, but I did stay in bed almost all weekend and knit and watch a lot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So that was my weekend. I hope yours was good, your week in general. Anyway, something else happened this week, but I'll talk about it later. Never mind. The Finisher Frog Craft Along is going on, and I haven't looked at it in I don't think I looked at it all weekend. I barely was on Revelry over the weekend because mostly it was just knitting and Buffy. But you guys are awesome. I'm super excited. Last week I mentioned the prize. There might be more. I don't know. It depends on participation, etc. But there will be a prize, which is an ebook, which I think I said was up to $25. If not, it's up to $25. Let me write that down since I don't think I wrote it down last week. So finished objects. I have several since I spent a lot of time knitting this week. The first is the Tristero socks because it is Socktober. But side tangent really quick about Socktober. So I would have considered myself a sock knitter, but I seem to have not knit very many pairs of socks this year, comparatively to myself. Compared to other people, maybe a lot of pairs of socks, but compared to myself previously, it's been like 2 pairs of socks a month, maybe less than that, which is kind of crazy because I think I was averaging more like 3.5 pairs of socks a month last year. Anyway, so it's October. I finished a whip sock, and then I'm going to make another pair of socks this month, but then that's it that I have planned for socks. I am going to do 2 pairs of slippers. I mean, that's kind of in the spirit of things for the feet, right? It kind of fits into October. That's why it's October ? This week. Anyway, Tristero socks by Cookie A. Pattern. The pattern is brilliant, but I radically modified the chart because it's a paid for pattern. It's a 72 stitch chart, which is too big for Josh's legs. They would just fall down we know this from other Cookie 8 patterns that I have made him, because I made 72 stitch sizes before, because heavily cabled. And this is pretty heavily cabled, but I modified it to be a 64 stitch sock because Josh has skinny everything, skinny legs, ankles, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, this is what it looks like. There's the patterning down the foot. It's got heel flap and gusset. That is per the pattern. Oh, I took out several stitches, so 72 down to 64, and that made the cable sections themselves shorter, but it still looks like the Trastero socks. It's still got, I mean, it looks like the socks. It's just a little bit different. This yarn is Nerd Girl Yarns, and I have the tag, and this is the only one that I have the tag for offhand. So Nerd Girl Yarns in the O Snap base, Back from Earth colorway. Last week I was here, which is, it's basically this line right here, right? I had finished the heels, yes, because I talked about heels, and I had started the gusset. So I finished all of this week. That was exciting for me, since I brought these into this month from last month, and I brought a lot of works in progress. I've been having a lot of rollover in my works in progress from month to month, which is kind of driving me crazy. I'm having a hard time, like, really figuring out how much I'm going to be able to accomplish in a month. Though I'm looking at my blanket, because I took my picture yesterday of what I had to finish this month. So I'm looking at my blanket right now. And there are 2, 4, 6 projects on the blanket, and 1 project in front of me. Oh, that's because I forgot one of my works in progress on the blanket. Silly. I'll get that. So that's 7 things, and it's halfway through the month. Like, how do I think I'm going to get all of this done? 2 of those projects are slippers. That's how I think I'm going to get this all done. I need to figure out how to manage my time better. By the way, this hat, Sockhead hat, knit by Haley. I don't know what the yarn is, but it is lovely. And the sweater that I'm wearing is Moody by Elena Nodell in Knit Picks tweed. Something tweed. I don't know. The worsted weight tweed, whatever that is. Second finished object is my Typhoon by Josh Ricks. I finished it last night, so it is not blocked. But this is what it looks like. The edge will not curl after blocking. There are these lovely short rows. It's a Josh Ricks design, so it's short rows all over the place, but lovely short row stripes, short row edging. I changed the pattern a little. I didn't even change the pattern. I just played with the yarn a little. The edging has you use the self-striping to do the bind off, which I liked in theory, but I didn't think I wanted this color, this light bit on the edge, so I only used the dark stripes. So I gave myself a few more ends to weave in, but I just used the dark stripe for the bind off, and I'll probably wear it before I weave in ends and block, because it's pretty lovely. It is designed for a solid. My solid was this 716 knit solo silky in the Josh Can't Overdye black colorway, and the striping is a Clan Tartan of Badness. So Josh designed the shawl so that he could use his self-striping yarn for something that wasn't socks, because he doesn't like knitting socks. Well, that's not, he would prefer to knit shawls. Sometimes he doesn't mind knitting socks. What else to say about this? don't know, I've been talking about it for a while, so I think I said most of what I need to say. Last week I was here with this stitch marker, and I finished this short row section, so the stripe, and then I finished the last gray section and the bind off. So I didn't have that much to go last week, but you know, the rows are pretty long. And this was really good sick knitting because the short rows were easy to memorize, and yeah, it didn't take a lot of brain power. And even though it's a 2-color shawl, it's not color work. So I was only working with one thing at a time, and I totally messed up on the edging portion right here on one of my short rows right at the beginning. I messed up, and I got to the end and I was like, that's not the right amount of stitches. I had 2 stitches left over, but I was like, no one's gonna notice because, you know, I've told you now, so you might notice, but looking at it, you can't tell. But it was perfect because it's a really easy pattern to modify when you make mistakes. So I just went with it. That's my Typhoon. Really like it. I might block it before I wear it. We'll see. It depends on how chilly it is when I have to go to work tonight, whether or not I weave in ends and block. The third project, I know, right? 3 projects in 1 week. It's crazy. The third project I finished was the design swatch that I had started last week using Yarn for Gabriel. So this is a cowl-y type thing, and the yarn is Leading Men Fiber Arts in the Box Office Worsted Base. The colorway is Orangey Clad, and it is a much more vibrant orange than that. I am looking pretty blue today, bluish green in here. Weird autumnal lighting. So yeah, that's orange. It's finished. I played yarn chicken with my yarn because it's only a swatch. The pattern itself is not going to be in worsted weight. I just wanted to see how the techniques would look. I had this much yarn left, so I don't know, a yard of yarn, maybe a little over a yard, and hopefully Gabriel likes it. I haven't blocked it, I haven't woven in ends, I finished it, and then was like, okay, what next? What else can I work on? So yeah, that's those were all the works in progress that I had last week, except for, you know, the works in progress that I hadn't worked on. But everything that I worked on last week, like that I had on the podcast shown as work in progress, was finished this week. So that's kind of exciting. It's been a while since I've had a slew of finished objects. Really like the way this turned out, even though it's orange. So I liked it, and that is good because let me show you my my beginning of my actual shawl cowl thing design. Okay, so why would I not finish this row? Who knows? But I am in the middle of a row. It doesn't really matter because it's still small. So it's at the very beginning. Oh my gosh, do you love this colorway? Because I love this colorway. I love this colorway so much. This is a Riot of Color, the Rumble base, which is a 75-25 yarn, and it is the Octopus's Garden colorway, which I saw on someone else's podcast at some point, fell in love with, lusted after for a long time, and then I purchased it at the ZK. And I'm so excited. I super love it. It's so pretty. This was my work knitting last week because it was really easy and small and compact. I can probably take it to work a couple more nights, but then I'll feel like it's too big to carry around. But I'm doing this as a 2-color thing, project design. This is the first one. And this one is also a Riot of Color. And this one Susan gave to me to design with. And then I got home and I was like, well, those two need to live together. So they're going to go together. And this one Of course, I didn't write down the specs for it because I haven't put it in yet, but it is the Rumpus base, and I think the colorway is Tide Pool, but that might be incorrect. I'll have it next week, and if I remember while editing, I'll put it right there so you can see it. But yeah, that's the start of a cowl shawl thing, and test knitters in the near to mid future. I'll be looking for someone to do that with 2 skeins of fingering weight. I don't know exact yardage yet because I haven't knit it.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mar. Mara has woken up, which is pretty exciting. She's sick. Gabriel brought home a cold from school, and he's at the tail end of it, and I'm kind of in it a little bit. And Mara just picked it up over the weekend, so she was up until like 2 o'clock in the morning. Not up until 2 o'clock in the morning. She got up at 2 o'clock in the morning. You fix it? Okay. So yeah, that's exciting. New design happening. Also, I started last night my second pair of Socktober socks. And these socks are a lot of fun. So it doesn't look like much right now. But this is actually 3 different yarns used all together. These are going to be Rose City Rollers, kind of. Officially, that's the pattern that I'm listing on the Revelry pattern page because I'm using the idea of the pattern, but I'm not using the pattern because I didn't like any of the stitch counts, and I know how to do a heel flap and a heel turn, although I might see if the heel turn is special on these socks. I don't know, I didn't even look. These socks are for Haley, and Haley requested scrappy socks. So the cuffs and toes will be out of this Nerd Girl Yarns in Oh Snap, the Back from Earth colorway. The main body of the socks, I'm already on the heel flap because I'm making them short socks because Haley wears short socks. So the main body will be on, it will be with Penguin Soup Fairy Sock in the Wild Style colorway. And I have just a little bit of that for the leg of the sock. So it's cuff, 3 rounds of leg. And then the heels are being knit out of, I don't know how to say that, this, which is Lammy Toes, I think it's the Moon Pie Merino base in the 90s tie-dye colorway. I did not reskein this cake before I started knitting on these heels, and the outside layer fell off. So hopefully that doesn't cause too big of a mess, but it's just heel flaps and turns for that, for this yarn. So I will reball it up into less of a mess right after I finish the heels sometime today. That's my goal, is to finish the heel. I'm trying to decide if I want to put some sort of pattern down the foot or if I just want to make these vanilla socks. I haven't decided yet. I'm kind of leaning toward a chevron E pattern because I liked the first Wild Style socks that I did with a chevron, but I'm not sure. We'll see. I might not start the foot today. So I know Haley watches pretty soon after this is up. So Haley, do you want pattern socks or do you want just plain stockinette? Just let me know. I'll be waiting for your text message. Let's see. The other works in progress I have are spinning, and I'm going to put in a photo of my spindle, but I'm also going to show you my spindle. And I have a story about spinning this week. It's very, very exciting. Last week on Wednesday, I had mentioned, well, last week in the podcast, I had mentioned how I was going to be teaching a spinning day at a local middle school. And I did, and it was super fun. I got to dress up in, I don't know, costume, and I kind of looked like Belle. I was walking through the middle school at one point on my way to the restroom, and someone was like, look, it's Belle walking through school. And I was like, kind of, but not really, because Belle didn't use a spinning wheel or a spindle. More Disney princesses should work with fiber crafts, I feel. Rapunzel did, and that was pretty exciting. Anyway, I went and my job was basically just to assist, because we did 4 groups of about 85 students at a time, because there were 3 different history classes. Yes. 3 different history classes in the library where we were set up. And the first 15 minutes, well, there was the intro, 5-minute intro to what the plan was. The first 15 minutes, students were to walk around and look at tools and other things, garments, dyed wool, spun wool, that sort of thing, and identify what the items were and identify what the purposes were. And it wasn't for a grade. Like, there was no right or wrong. It was just, look at the things up close, try to make some guesses, and then the second 15 minutes, we went over what everything was. So my job was to hold up things, because the library was huge. There was only one area where Lorraine could talk and people would be able to hear her. And it was not where a lot of the tools were. So as she talked about shears and hand combs and hand cards, I showed how those work. I mean, I didn't actually shear sheep in the class. I just held up the shears, but I did work the hand combs and showed how a nitty-nutty worked during the second 15 minutes. And then once I was done demonstrating, I would pick up my drop spindle. And this is the one that I brought. No, that was about 40 minutes of spinning that I did on this in a day, which was nice. This is the Painted Tiger Merino Silk blend that I won from the knitting game. The last 15 minutes of class was where the kids got to play with drop spindles, and we passed them out in pairs, and each pair got to make 2 lengths of fiber. Most of them ended up this long because they didn't really get the drafting thing, but some people made, actual lengths of yarn, which was really exciting. And fun side note, I work at a grocery store, so I've seen a handful of the students since I helped teach the class. They were like, that was really fun. So that was exciting. The super exciting part of the day was that for the first 15 minutes, when everyone was walking around, I had 2 jobs. The first job was to make sure that the kids didn't pick up the shears, combs, or carders, because those are dangerous, and that they didn't knock over the spinning wheels, the spinning wheel or the 2 looms that were up on the tops of the shelves for display for purposes of them looking at it. And the second part was I got to spin on a wheel. Practical demonstration. It was very exciting. And even more exciting for me is that about halfway through the day, Lorraine was like, so how are you liking the spinning on the wheel? Because it was my first, well, not my first, it was my second time really spinning on a wheel, and the first time of spinning on a wheel for any length of time. And I was like, oh, it's good. And she had brought in a bunch of fiber for me to spin, and I picked this pink fiber to spin because there was a purple and a yellow, but I thought this super bright pink would be something that would pull the kids over, we weren't worried about, having wool colored wool. That wasn't the point. The point was to engage these 8th graders in um, in this spinning stuff. By the way, the whole point wasn't spinning. Like our whole excuse me, our whole point wasn't to teach the kids how to spin. Our whole point was that they're doing this unit on colonial life, and this is how people made clothes. And in Massachusetts, there was a wool tax wherein you had to spin for 20 weeks. You had to spin a pound of fiber a week to a specific weight, and then you turned that into the government, and that was your tax. Anyway, this is what I started spinning. So spinning up pretty fine. It did not start out this fine. On the bobbin, underneath the first layer is not this even, and it's not this nice, but it's kind of my first real spin. So this is the pink fiber, and I have just this little bit left. So I will be spinning on that, and then she just let me take home the other fibers that she had brought in for demonstration purposes because she doesn't care. She has sable, which is stash acquired beyond life expectancy. And, she occasionally gives me gifts out of her stash, including these fibers. So I'm going to spin all 3 of these in a progressive. And I'm trying to decide if I want to do pink, yellow, purple or pink, purple, yellow. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. If you have an opinion, I doubt that I'll start a second color before this goes up. So, pink, yellow, purple, pink, purple, yellow. But I'm going to spin that into a single. And then she also brought this, which she had found on clearance. And she was like, I don't know what I wanted that for, but I was kind of thinking, if you want, you could spin up that progressive and apply it with, this thread. So it's 2 strands of, well, it's more than 2 strands of metallic polyester, sequin polyester, and polyester. So not, super nice, but really pretty for art yarn purposes. It's got all these sequins and it's kind of a purpley pinky color, and I think it will look lovely with these colors. So that's what I'm thinking. I haven't decided 100%, and I don't even know what I would use that yarn for, but it would be pretty, so who cares, right? But that's kind of my plan. So yes, anyway, I have a spinning wheel that Lorraine is letting me borrow because I don't even know if I got through this part of my story. Halfway through the day, she was asking how I was liking spinning, and I said, oh, I liked it. And she said, well, why don't you take the spinning wheel home just so you can, finish that fiber on the spinning wheel. So I have her Luette. I don't know what kind of wheel this is other than that it says Luette on it. Single treadle, and I am not the only person spinning on this wheel. So aside from me, Gabriel started spinning his fiber on the wheel, and it got a little crazy toward the end. So I'm going to take the twist out of that and let him, do that again. But this is his spinning, which he has done all by himself. It is it is drafted by him. He treadled it all by himself, and he figured out how to take off the flyer so that we could change the bobbin because he wanted to spin, and I didn't want him to spin on the pink fiber, and he didn't want to spin on the pink fiber anyway. He wanted to spin his fiber, and there was an open bobbin. So yeah, he figured that out all by himself, and if I can figure out how, I'll insert a video of him spinning. And he has decided now that we should get a spinning wheel for all the time, not just for borrowing, which is kind of exciting because if you recall when Haley visited, that was my first experience spinning on a wheel. And it was a double treadle, and Gabriel was like, Mom, you suck at that. We shouldn't get a spinning wheel. You shouldn't have one. And he didn't like it because he couldn't get the grasp of it. But for the single treadle, he likes it. And P.S. I have no preference on single or double treadle. I think they're both good. And I just would like a spinning wheel for real someday. I finished Barn Raising Square number 44. This is yarn from Haley. I don't know what it is, but it is really, really pretty. And I think it will look gorgeous with the other yarns in the blanket. And I have enough for hex puffs out of this. I also made, speaking of, I made some hex puffs. This is not the correct number. I have 4 in my hand, but I have 5 made. One moment, please. I found it. Okay, so I made a non-celebratory hex puff using yarn from Allison. This is the Malfoy's Manor. And what yarn is that? It is O-Loop's Quarter Round Malfoy Manor. And this is Cyborg's Craft Room Asocolate in Orange You Happy It's Pink. So those are both from Allison, and this one's a celebratory. It was just turned inside out. And then these 3 are mostly yarn from Haley. They are all celebratory with little garter ridges where the yarn changes color. They are all from the same ball of yarn. And this one is why it's mostly from Haley. This top pinkish purple color is yarn from Christina. So I love how they all look similar, but they're all different, even though they're all from the same ball of yarn. That makes me so happy about hex puffs. So I made 5 this week. The pattern is Beekeeper's Quilt by Tiny Owl Knits, and I have 390 hex puffs total. Yes! I don't know why 390 sounds like such a big number and is very exciting for me, but it's very exciting for me. New things. I have some new things. Isn't that exciting? No, you're not interested. That is a book. Do you want to show the book on the podcast?
Yeah.
Okay. So Mara made this little book. Uh-oh.
Oh my.
Oh my. I dropped something.
Oh no.
So here is the book that Mara made. And who is this?
It's a book for you.
Who's in the book? Who's this one?
It's Shimmer.
And who's this one?
It's Shy.
And who's that one?
It's little girl.
Yeah, their friend. So Shimmer and Shine are a show on Nick Jr. And she made me a book. Very exciting. Can you go make a book for Grammy? I have new things. This is a moment that some of you have been waiting for. These are some of the new things from Josh that came in the package that I got forever ago. Okay, this is Malabrigo Restita, which is merino wool. It is a 310 yard skein, single ply. The colorway is Chircas. Looks like. I'm going to guess it's Chircas. So it's green with grayish, purplish-ish. Very pretty. And I haven't worked with that yarn before, so that is exciting. All of this yarn is yarn that I have not worked with before. This is Hedgehog Fibers sock yarn. It's 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon in the colorway Monsoon. So pretty. I can see why Josh is very obsessed with Hedgehog Fibers. It's got purples, blues, it's got like yellow flecks in there, which change it to greens and browns. Super duper pretty. All of the yarn that Josh gave me was really pretty. This is Madeline Tosh in the Tosh Mo Light, which is 80% superwash merino wool, 20% kid mohair. The colorway, the Radness. Just super, super pretty. Very, very speckly, which is exciting because I really like speckly yarns. And then this is Gourmet Stash in the Stout Sock, which is 75 superwash Corriedale, 25 nylon. Very exciting because I haven't made Corriedale socks before, and I keep hearing about it, and I want to, but I just haven't. So that's exciting. In the colorway Broken Ornaments, which was one of the Christmas colorways. Okay, I'll take it out of the bag. And I saw it, I can't remember if they were, she would dye up a skein. She did like 25 days of Christmas or something, or 12 days of Christmas. A lot of days of Christmas, and every day there was a separate colorway, and I don't remember if it was a pre-order thing or she dyed up so many skeins for the day and that's how you got it. But when I saw this one, I was like, oh my gosh, that one is so pretty. She had a lot of pretty colorways, but this was the one that like took my breath away. But I don't buy a lot of yarn, so Josh bought it for me. Oh my gosh, I love it so, so much. It's so pretty. This is for me. I don't know what the other yarns are going to be used for, but this one is for me. If I start knitting with this and I say it's for someone else, please yell at me. Nicely, but please yell at me. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this. Okay, so reading. I have done some. I finished, I think last week I had finished Voyager, and this week I picked up the next book, which is Drums of Autumn, because I really, really like having an audiobook in my car, because I really, really dislike listening to talk radio. I like music, so I like when the radio plays music, but when all of the stations are on commercial at the same time or playing a song that I don't like, which is not very common that I don't like a song, but it does happen, and sometimes all the stations are doing that at once, I'd much rather just listen to an audiobook. So I'm listening to Drums of Autumn by Diana Gabaldon, and I'm enjoying it so far. I am reading The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, and I am at page 98, and there are 163 pages, 165 pages. Making slow but steady progress. I enjoy like classics, but they just take me a lot longer to read than modern things, because right now I'm struggling with this book because look at this. This is one paragraph. That is a lot to read without giving my brain a break. So yeah. And right now it's all of the paragraphs are like that. So I read a page and it's an entire paragraph, and I don't always remember what I read at the beginning because I'm reading this before bed. What I need to do is, in order to finish this book this week, is just read 10 pages a day during the middle of the day, and then I will finish the book. I'm enjoying the story. I like the book. I'm enjoying the story. It's just, you know, the language is a little bit different. The culture is very different. Yeah. I'm enjoying it, but, you know, it's classic stuff, so it's not my normal young adult novel reading. And I started kind of a young adult novel while I was at the school. I was in a library, and I hadn't brought any reading, but we had a large break during the middle of the day for, it was like all the history teachers' planning periods. So I was in a library, and I hadn't brought a book. I had brought knitting. I worked on Gabriel's cowl while I was there. But I have a really hard time just sitting and knitting on something so simple. So I went to the shelves and tried to find an author who I knew and enjoyed, and they had this Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. This is a series that's a prequel to the Mortal Instruments series, which is what I was just reading. What did I just read? City of Fallen Angels. They didn't have the fifth book in the Mortal Instrument series, but they did have Clockwork Angel, which is the first book in the Infernal Devices trilogy. I think this one's just a trilogy. So I picked that up and started reading just the first few pages. And then I put it back because I can't check out a book from a middle school library, but the public library across the street had it. So I picked it up. So I will be reading that. And that's everything I have for you this week. I hope you made something fantastic with your 6 and string. I feel like that was a really quick, like, blah, blah, blah. I started reading this book. I really only read the first few pages, so I can't talk about anything about it because I don't know, other than it's a prequel because it says that on the front cover. Anyway, I hope you made something fantastic with your 6 and string, and I will see you next week. Bye.